How's it going, everyone? Marriland here, and that's right, it's time for a video to show you how to make better Pokemon teams, or at least a tool that will help you do so. I can't build the teams for you. I'm personally not that great at competitive battling or anything these days, but I want to make sure you have a tool that will be very useful for you, whether you want to do single battles, double battles, VGC rules, or if you're playing a Nuzlocke or just a casual playthrough and you want to plan on your team. So this is the Team Builder, Marriland's Pokemon Team Builder. I made this thing, its original version, all the way back in either 2007 or 2008, somewhere around the Diamond and Pearl days. And what it does is it allows you to input a team of up to 6 Pokemon, and it will show you the entire team's weaknesses and resistances to every single type at a glance. Very handy. So for instance, let's just say I want to make a team of, I don't know, how about a Charmander? First of all, as you type, you should see some suggestions here. So if I go back, you'll see there's Charmeleon, and if I just do Char, you'll see all this stuff. This may look a little different depending on which browser you're using, because it is actually native built into the HTML. So if you're using, say, an iPhone, this will show up in your auto suggestions, your autocorrect, as you're typing, which is super cool. This whole thing is made to be very mobile friendly. In fact, we'll even kind of go to a more mobile friendly look here. So yeah, let's go ahead and go with Charmander. And then if we go down here, you'll see that Charmander is in the table of defensive coverage. So at a glance, you can rather easily see that Charmander is weak to water, and weak to ground, and weak to rock, which is very cool. You can also see its resistances. Now, that doesn't really tell you anything too much, but this tool gets very powerful when you use it at a, on a team-wide level. See, now if I add a Butterfree to the team, we kind of have that early game, red, blue kind of vibe to it. Let's add a Pikachu, for instance. And there we go. So one thing that might be helpful is, dealing with this electric type weakness, right? So Pikachu has a potential ability, Lightning Rod. The Team Builder does have support for abilities. So if a Pokemon has an ability, you should see it appear next to it, at least if it's an ability that would affect damage in any way for like types and stuff. So obviously Pikachu has, say, static for an ability as well. But since it doesn't really affect anything, there's really no point in having it there. But abilities that do affect things, for instance, let's say if we go to Charizard, and it's actually kind of cool because you can type in Mega Charizard Y, or you could do all sorts of different variants, but it will then automatically set it to the proper form. There's support for forms, of course, which is very handy, but you can also use abilities that don't directly affect type, but will kind of. Like with Drought, that sets up the sun, right? So with taking half as much damage from water in the sun, and fire attacks doing twice as much more, yeah, it actually kind of balances out. Now, it's not for the whole team, just Charizard, but it's things like that that should hopefully make this a nice experience. So as I said, other forms are available. So if we go with Alolan Meowth, we can get Meowth in its Alola form. And yeah, pretty handy. There are, of course, support for the new Sword and Shield Pokemon. So Score Bunny here. We can type that there, and voila, we've got a Score Bunny. Now, as you add more Pokemon to the team, you'll probably see some holes in your team's weaknesses. So you want to deal with those. Anything that's like lit up in this red with the yellow and all that, like that's something you want to deal with. That means that there's a big weakness to rock here. So you should probably take a look at it. Otherwise you could be in for a bad time. So that's what makes the Team Builder so handy, is you can look and see what your team is weak to at a glance and see if there are any major issues. So there's also another little thing here. If we type in Arceus or Silvally, you'll have the ability to give it the respective plate, which is kind of nice. So you can change Arceus into a fighting type, and it works. It covers it just fine. So there are a few more options here, which I would love to talk about to make the most of your time using the team builder. So this first one, this is just kind of like a personal preference if you'd rather use symbols instead of fractions. Some people might like this, where, you know, you use like the triangle to indicate a resistance, like it's not very effective here. And then this triangle here for like, it takes 1/4 as much. And this gray X to indicate it doesn't do anything. The red circle here, just a standard one for it's weak to it. And then this kind of wild looking circle where it's very weak to it. I know that this is more popular in like, especially Japanese culture and stuff as opposed to fractions and multipliers. So I decided I'd give the option just in case you'd like. Okay, so another thing here is the type overrides. So let's say for whatever reason, I don't know why, but let's say you need a Pokemon that is of a type that doesn't yet exist. Well, this isn't enabled by default, but if you check this, you'll have the ability to give any of your Pokemon a custom type. If you override any of these, it will actually change it. So let's change Pikachu from an electric type to a poison type. So now if I scroll down here, you'll see Pikachu, well, immune to electric. That's good that Volt Absorb still works. But yeah, now weak to ground and psychic, so it actually effectively changed Pikachu's type. But we can go a step further. Let's say poison grass, okay? Cool. Now it reflects it accordingly. Now, I don't know why on earth you would need custom types in a Pokemon game, but it's there just in case you need it. So that's really cool. Now, if you thought that was cool, there's a whole lot more that will make this the tool for competitive battling, for casual playthroughs, for Nuzlocke runs, whatever the case. And that's what I've just decided to call it advanced mode. So with advanced mode, it will add a lot more scrolling to this. And I have zoomed this in so it's easier for you to see. If this were kind of a more normal size, it actually fits pretty well. Not sure, actually, I think this is a little too much, 67. I think this is the normal size. This is. Yeah, this is a 720p monitor right now. And as you can see, like normally it fits the whole table, so that's fine. But obviously if you're watching it on a video, it might be a little tricky to see. So this is more along the lines of what it would look like on a phone, let's say. Especially if you were holding it horizontally. But anyway, back to this advanced mode. This will add a lot more scrolling, but a lot more functionality. So let's check it and bam, just like that. Oh man, what is all this stuff? Where am I? So this is really for the advanced user, but when you know how it works like a dream. So I'm gonna get rid of this custom type really fast. Let's do that. There. Okay, so this gives you 2 additional opportunities to input things. The first is each of your Pokemon, you can add up to 4 moves. And they also have drop downs, at least for any moves that do damage. You don't need to type anything that doesn't do damage. So let's say we had a Charizard and it has like Flamethrower. And let's say we have a Charizard with Dragon Dance. Well, Dragon Dance isn't going to show up on your list of moves there. It doesn't matter, it doesn't do damage. It really, like, you can just do your damaging moves if you want, that's fine. So let's say Solar Beam and, I don't know, like Dragon Pulse or something. Okay, cool. So for Butterfree, I don't know, let's just do Bug Buzz. It's important you spell everything correctly as well, and it's not going to check to see if the Pokemon can learn the move, but yeah, you get the idea. So we'll do Thunder, and I don't know, maybe like Slam. It's such a bad move, but I'm just trying to think of things off the top of my head. Maybe Dig. And then Alolan form Meowth, let's say Dark Pulse. I don't know, we'll do that, and we'll do Brick Break, sure. Okay, so Score Bunny. Well, actually, let's just leave it blank for right now. You don't need to do that. And I'll get to this in a moment. That's also really powerful. So with advanced mode on, if you scroll below defensive coverage, you will find the offensive coverage. And it is exactly what it describes. It shows your team's offensive coverage. So on the left, this is now the type of the enemy instead of the type that the enemy's move is. So why is that important? Well, that means if you're fighting against, say, a water-type Pokemon, then Charizard and Pikachu, they have a move that can counter a water-type Pokemon, a pure water-type. For electric, well, Pikachu has Dig, so it has something that can counter that. Great. And yeah, I mean, it looks pretty good over here, right? Well, this is bad. What's up with this red X? Well, that means Butterfree doesn't have any move that's neutral. It only has moves that are resisted by Steel, and same for Fairy for this Alolan Meowth. It's a lot rarer to see the X's, but if you do, that means that Pokemon's definitely going to have some trouble against that type. So you really got to watch it. So in this case, that's because Meowth has Dark Pulse and Brick Break. Both of these Fairy resists. So yeah, that's why that's there. And pretty much the same thing with Butterfree, with Psychic and Bug Buzz, Steel resist them both. So, you know, it's not uncommon to see these, but you're not going to see them as often as you see these check boxes. Check marks, yeah, there we go. So yeah, but anyway, this is just great to see at a glance, what do you do against any given type. Now, this is where it gets to the extreme. So you can also check your team's move coverage, your offensive coverage against up to 6 Pokemon. So let's say we have a Metagross, and let's say we have a, I don't know, Staraptor or something. And yeah, how do all my Pokemon's moves do against these? So in addition to having the types listed, you'll also see the individual Pokemon. So in this case, Charizard has some coverage against Metagross, so does Pikachu, so does Meowth. Like, they all have something, which is great. And it also reflects that over here in the super effective column. It means, oh yeah, I have 3 things on my team that can do super effective damage to Metagross. Nice. But I only have 1 thing that's super effective against the Staraptor. Let me go ahead and give a little bit more in-depth of an example here. I'll take the team from my Pokemon Omega Ruby Wedlock, just because I have it handy, and I'll compare it against the champion of Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, their whole team, and then you'll just kind of see a real-world example. So give me just a moment. Okay, so as you can see here, I went ahead and I input all my team from that, and most of their moves. I left these ones blank, but I decided to include some status moves here and there. Doesn't matter if you include them or not, you can if you want to. And then, of course, here is the champion's team, in addition to their abilities and forms. So let's just see how this looks. First of all, here is how the team's overall weaknesses and resistances look. Definitely a weakness to electric, definitely a weakness to rock. But other than that, it's not too bad. But for offensive coverage, you can now see, oh wow, okay, so I don't really have a lot of answers for Skarmory. I have a lot of answers for Claydol. Everything on my team has a counter to that, which is wonderful. Armaldo, only these 2 have a counter for that, and so on. So yeah, it's just really handy to see at a glance how my team's offense stacks up against the enemy's defense. The other good news is it doesn't look like anything has just kind of a big resistance to my Pokemon. They have enough coverage in their moves or diversity that I'm not hitting for nothing but not very effective damage, which is very handy. So this is for an in-game team. Just imagine how good it would look if you had this going for, say, a competitive team. Whether you're playing by Smogon rules, whether you're playing by VGC rules, or even if you're just playing through the game, you know, you want to look up gym leaders, you want to look up the final battle of the game, see how your team and its moves do, maybe play around with it. It's all there. Let's say you want to use max raids, go on some of them and make sure you have good coverage and stuff against that. Well, the advanced mode of the team builder, that will allow you to do that. Now, even without advanced mode, there's still a lot of cool functionality with just the types and being able to see your weaknesses and resistances. But it really is wonderful that, you know, you can now see easily how your team does offense-wise against pretty much any opposing team. That's super helpful. Yeah, so it's just really cool. Like, I'm very proud of this tool. I think it's something that will be very helpful for a lot of people to help them make better Pokemon teams, whether it's competitive, whether it's for in-game purposes, or for like a challenge run. I mean, it's there for you. Now, there are some things that still need to be added, just so this is clear. There's not currently a way to save your team, so keep that in mind. If you leave the page or if you refresh or something like that, you will lose your inputted team here. And now that there's advanced mode, there's a lot more you might need to type back. That is something I will be adding in the future. Don't worry, there will be a way to save, load, and even share teams. I'm just not there yet. And another thing that I'm looking forward to adding is support for other languages. Like, I'd like the entire team builder to be available in a multitude of different languages. So for instance, if you're playing and you're a Japanese player, you might want to type in the Japanese names for Pokemon rather than just their English names. So that, I believe, technically works right now, but the labels and all the text on the page, it's still going to be in English. That might be a little tricky to read in some instances. And of course, you can't just type in something. So like, I have a really good example here. Let's take Turtok. So if I were to type in Turtok, right now it doesn't actually show up in the dropdown, but it will convert it to Blastoise. So I'm definitely planning that functionality. I just want to make sure that the team builder will be usable in your language. Now, what this will be really helpful for, you won't have to think, oh, what is, this Pokemon's name in English? You don't have to map it if, let's say, you're a French player or a German player or an Italian player. And, obviously you can take some time to learn the different names, but wouldn't it be great if it was just available in your own language? Yeah, so that's something that is planned for the future as well. I think it's going to be really exciting. I'd love this to be a wonderful resource for people all around the world. So hopefully, if you're really into the team builder and you know English and you also know another language, definitely hit me up on Twitter and we'll see if maybe I can get some of this localized for your language. And I'd love to have that up there. But yeah, anyway, that's the team builder. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you'll make use of the tool. And I'll be sure to have another video update on this if I add any big major features. But yeah, I hope you enjoy, and I'll see you next time, everyone.